The cold wind blew across the white mountains. Snow fell from the sky, covering everything in silence. Jack was walking alone. He had a big backpack and thick clothes, but still, he felt the cold in his bones. He was not here for fun. Jack had come to forget. His past life was full of pain, a lost job, broken family, and no clear future. So, he came to the mountains to find peace. But today, something strange was about to happen. Suddenly, Jack saw a flash in the sky. A blue light, fast like a shooting star. But it was not a star. It was too close, too big, and falling. Boom. Loud crash shook the ground. Snow jumped up like smoke. Birds flew away in fear. Jack turned his head and saw black smoke rising from the other side of the mountain. What was that? He said to himself. He dropped his bag and started running. The air was freezing, but he didn't care. Something had fallen. And it was not normal. After 20 minutes of walking through thick snow, Jack reached the place. What he saw made him stop. There was a crash site. A strange ship was broken in the snow. It was not like any human airplane. The metal was dark silver. It glowed faintly with blue lines. Some pieces looked like they were alive, moving slowly. "This is not from Earth," Jack whispered. He stepped closer. There was no fire, just pieces of the ship and something else. Footprints, very small ones. Jack knelt down. A child? He thought. The footprints were not more than 6 inches long. But what kind of child walks out of a crashed alien ship? He followed the prints. They were deep in the snow, going toward the rocks nearby. Then the footprints stopped. Right in the middle of the open snow. Jack looked around. Nothing, only white snow and silence. But then he heard something, a soft sound, like crying. Not loud, almost like singing in the wind. He walked slowly toward the sound. His eyes scanned every corner. Behind a large stone, he found it, a small creature. Curled up, shaking. It was a child. But not human. Its skin was smooth and silver. Its body was thin, almost weightless. Its eyes were big and glowing blue. And its tears, they fell on the snow and froze instantly into shining crystals. The alien child looked at Jack, scared, weak, but it didn't run. It just cried. Jack's heart beat fast. He felt confused and sad. This child was alone, lost in a snowstorm on a strange planet. Jack slowly bent down. "It's okay," he said in a calm voice. "I won't hurt you." He took off his gloves and reached out his hand. The child looked at it, then placed its cold fingers into Jack's palm. At that moment, Jack felt a shock in his mind. For 1 second, he saw a vision, a woman crying, her arms reaching out, a bright sky, a ship flying away. And then, darkness. The vision ended. Jack was breathing fast. Was that its mother? He thought, is it showing me memories? Suddenly, the child opened a small bag hanging on its side. Inside was a glowing cube. It was pulsing with light. Blue, green. Then the light turned red. Jack heard something. Click, click, click. The sound was coming from the trees. Not animal, not human. Something else. Jack picked up the child in his arms. It was so light, like carrying a feather. The cube inside the bag kept blinking red. He looked at the sky. Dark clouds were moving fast. The snowstorm was growing. Had to get away from here. Fast. He started walking back to his cabin, 2 miles away through thick snow. The wind was stronger now, but Jack didn't stop. The child held onto his coat. Silent now. Watching him, Jack whispered, "Don't worry. I'll help you." But in his mind, he knew this was just the beginning, the crash. The child. The red light. The strange clicking sound. Something was coming. Something was watching, and they were not alone on this mountain anymore. Snow hit Jack's face like needles as he walked through the storm. The alien child was wrapped inside his coat, silent, but shaking. Jack didn't know if it was fear or cold. Maybe both. His boots sank deep in the snow with every step. The wind howled around him like a wild animal. But he didn't stop. He had to reach the cabin. Finally, after what felt like hours, Jack saw the small wooden cabin ahead, hidden in the trees, half covered in snow. He kicked the door open, stepped inside, and slammed it shut behind him. Silence. He dropped to his knees, breathing hard. The child looked up at him, eyes glowing faint blue in the dark cabin. "You're safe now," Jack said softly. He lit a fire. Warm light filled the room. The child moved closer to the fire and stretched out its thin silver hands. It didn't speak, but its eyes. "They said everything." Jack sat across from it. "Who are you?" he asked, knowing it couldn't answer. Then he remembered the small bag the child carried. He gently reached for it. The child didn't stop him. It just nodded slowly. Inside the bag was the glowing cube. The same one that had blinked red before. Now it was quiet. Soft blue light pulsed through it, like a heartbeat. Jack held it carefully. "What are you?" he whispered. Suddenly, the cube glowed bright, and in that moment, everything changed. Jack wasn't in the cabin anymore. He stood in a strange alien city. Giant towers of crystal reached the sky. Flying ships zoomed across pink clouds. Below, he saw crowds of aliens, tall, beautiful, glowing with light, and in the center, the child. It was laughing, running into the arms of its mother, tall, graceful, with the same blue eyes. She looked strong, but also kind. The vision shifted. Explosions. Screams. The city was under attack. Strange machines flew through the sky. Fires burned. The mother was running, carrying the child. She placed the cube in his small hands. Her voice echoed in Jack's mind. "Find the human. He will protect you." The vision ended. Jack was back in the cabin, sweating. The cube was still in his hands, warm now. The child looked at him, like it was asking, "Did you see it?" Jack nodded. "I saw your mother. She's looking for you." The cube suddenly blinked, fast, bright red again. Jack stood up fast. "That's not good," he said. He looked out the window. Snow still fell heavy, but now he saw lights in the sky. Small dots, moving, searching. The child stood up and pointed to the cube, then to the door. It made a motion, like flying, crashing, hiding, then pointed at its chest. Jack understood. "They're looking for you, aren't they?" The child nodded. Jack locked the doors and checked his old hunting rifle. It was old and rusty, but better than nothing. "Okay," he said. "We wait. We don't go out tonight." Suddenly, the cube projected a small hologram, a map. Jack saw a blinking dot, the crash site, and another blinking light far away. "Underground? What's that?" he asked. The child tapped on the image of the second blinking light. It looked at Jack with hope in its eyes. "A lab? A safe place? Or your mother?" Jack wasn't sure. Then the cube showed something else. A symbol, a government logo, Earth flag. Jack's eyes widened. "Wait, humans were there?" He looked at the child. "Were we working with your people before?" The cube glitched, then shut off. Outside, the wind stopped. Too quiet. Jack stepped closer to the window and froze. In the distance, through the trees, 3 red lights floated silently. Then, click, 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 that same clicking sound from before. Louder now, closer. He pulled the child away from the window and whispered, "They found us." The child held his hand tight, trembling. Jack knew what he had to do. He couldn't wait anymore. That underground place on the map, it was their only chance. He grabbed a bag, packed food, the cube, and some warm clothes. The rifle hung over his shoulder. He opened the back door, the wind biting his face again. The child looked up at him with those glowing eyes, trusting him completely. Jack nodded. "Let's go, before it's too late." They stepped into the night, footprints disappearing behind them, and the red lights silently moved through the trees. The sky was black. Snow fell like ashes. The forest was silent except for the sound of 2 people walking, 1 human, 1 alien. Jack moved quickly through the trees. His boots crunched in the snow. On his back was a bag full of supplies, a rusty rifle, and the glowing cube. In his arms was the alien child, Zeru, cold, quiet, but watching everything. Zeru, that's what Jack decided to call him. It felt right. The red lights were gone now, hidden behind the storm. But Jack knew they would return. They always did. He checked the cube again. The map was back. A blinking dot, still far, deep in the mountains, underground. Jack whispered, To Ziru, that place, it's the key. Maybe your mother is there? Maybe answers? Ziru gave a soft sound, not words, but a kind of hopeful hum. His eyes glowed just a little brighter. The wind screamed through the trees. Jack looked up. They had to keep moving. Hours passed. The snow grew thicker. The storm stronger. Ziru pointed ahead to a narrow path between tall rocks. Jack followed. They entered a frozen valley, the sky hidden by fog, but something was wrong. Ziru stopped walking. His ears twitched. His small hands grabbed Jack's coat. Jack froze. What is it? Then he heard it too. A low, metallic sound. Like a machine. Breathing from the fog. Shapes moved. Two large machines, black, spider-like, stepped out onto the snow. Their red eyes scanned the ground. Hunters. Jack grabbed Ziru and ran toward the trees. The machines saw them. One of them screeched. A loud, high-pitched noise like metal tearing apart. A red laser shot through the air. Just missed them, Jack. Dove behind a fallen log, heart pounding. We're not fast enough, he said. Gasping, Ziru pulled out the cube. He touched the center. The cube glowed, and then the ground beneath them flickered. A hidden door in the snow. Jack looked at it in shock. How did you... Ziru pointed down. Jack opened the door. A dark tunnel led underground. He didn't hesitate. He jumped in, holding Ziru close, and pulled the door shut above them, just before the machines reached the spot. Inside the tunnel. It was warm. Lights blinked along the walls. The tunnel looked old, not alien, but human, rusty metal. Faded signs, an old bunker, Jack whispered. Humans built this. Ziru looked around with wide eyes. They walked down a long hallway. At the end was a room, broken chairs, dead screens, old wires hanging from the ceiling, but one machine still worked, a console. Jack approached it. Dust covered the buttons, but the screen turned on. Project Starlink, human-alien contact status, failed access level, restricted. Ziru touched the screen. Suddenly, it unlocked. A video began to play. A woman appeared, human, scientist. She looked tired, scared. If you're watching this, it means one of them survived. A child. We tried. We really did. We worked with the alien mother. She trusted us. But then the military came. They saw danger, not peace. They attacked. She escaped, her child. We thought he was lost. But if he's alive, help him, please. The mother is still searching. She left behind a signal key, the cube. It can open the last gate. You must go to the east peak, inside the mountain. There's a door. The cube will open it. The video ended. Jack looked at Ziru. Your mother left you here. To find us, to find help. Ziru held the cube tight. His eyes were full of emotion, too big for a child. He was not just lost. He was carrying a mission. Then a loud sound shook the bunker. Boom. Dust fell from the ceiling. Jack checked the tunnel. Red lights glowed through the cracks in the trapdoor above. They're here, he whispered. They're digging down. He grabbed Ziru and ran toward the back of the bunker. A ladder led up to another exit. They climbed fast. As they came out. The snow had slowed, but the sky was red with warning lights. The machines were everywhere now, scanning, walking, searching. Jack looked at the cube. Where's the east peak? The cube projected a map. The blinking light was now closer. Maybe one more day of walking, but it wouldn't be easy. Ziru looked up at Jack. He wasn't crying anymore. He was ready. Jack nodded. Let's finish what your mother started. They disappeared into the snow again, with red eyes still watching them from the trees. The wind was quiet now, but the silence felt dangerous. Jack and Ziru walked through a narrow path between sharp rocks. The mountains around them were cold and dark. Their footsteps echoed in the stillness. The sky above was cloudy, too cloudy. Jack looked up and whispered, Feels like we're being watched. Ziru said nothing, but his small hands held the glowing cube tightly. The east peak was still far, hidden behind more ice and snow. But they had no choice. The machines, the hunters, were behind them. Getting closer every hour, they reached a frozen lake. The surface was glassy and smooth, covered in frost. Jack looked across it. On the other side, the map showed a shortcut. Through an old tunnel. We cross here, Jack said, stepping onto the ice carefully. Zero followed, his tiny feet light and quiet. They reached the middle of the lake, and then a sky roared. A loud screeching sound came from above. Jack looked up. 3 black flying machines appeared through the clouds. They were fast, sharp, like giant metal birds with red eyes, the hunters from the sky. "Run!" Jack shouted. Zero ran ahead as lasers hit the ice around them. Boom! Boom! The ice cracked under their feet. Jack grabbed Zero and jumped behind a frozen rock. The hunters circled above, scanning, searching. One of the machines opened its side and dropped something. A spider-like drone landed on the ice. It walked slowly. Clicking, sniffing the air. It was tracking them. Zero opened the cube. The light inside turned purple, then shot out a wave of sound. The drone stopped. It shook violently and exploded. Jack stared in shock. "What did you do?" Zero looked down, breathing fast. The cube's glow faded again. Jack understood. "It's not just a map, it's a weapon too." Zero didn't speak, but his eyes said yes. The other hunters screamed louder now. They had seen what happened. They were angry. Jack held Zero close and made a choice. No more running. He pulled out his old rifle, checked the last 2 bullets, and said, "We fight. Then we move." They hid under the ice bridge between rocks. Jack fired a shot at one of the flying hunters, missed, but it gave them time. Zero raised the cube again. This time he focused hard. His small face was full of light, pure blue. The cube answered. A wave of energy shot up. It hit one of the flying machines. The hunter froze midair, then dropped straight down into the lake. Boom. Ice flew everywhere. Jack pulled Zero back behind cover. "You're strong," he said. "Too strong for a child." Zero looked away. Almost ashamed. Jack paused. Something was wrong. "Zero," he said slowly, "what are you?" They escaped through the side tunnel just as the last 2 hunters retreated. Maybe calling for backup. Maybe planning something worse. Inside the tunnel, it was dark and damp. The only light came from the cube, now glowing a soft white. Jack stopped to rest. Zero sat down, breathing hard. Jack looked at him carefully. "You're not just someone's kid, are you?" Zero looked at him, then placed his hand on the ground, and the cube showed another vision. Jack saw the alien mother again. She was in a lab, surrounded by human scientists. She looked afraid, but strong, in her arms a baby. The same child. Then a screen showed her DNA, and next to it, something strange. Human DNA plus alien DNA result. Zero purpose. Interspecies peace prototype. Jack's heart stopped. "You're a hybrid," he whispered. "Half human, half alien." The vision continued. The mother argued with a soldier. He shouted, angry. He said Zero was too dangerous, a weapon, not a child. She escaped, took Zero and ran. Then the crash happened. The vision ended. Zero looked at Jack, waiting for a reaction, but Jack didn't run. He didn't look scared. He placed a hand on Zero's shoulder. "You're not a weapon, you're a kid, and you have a mother who loves you." Zero's eyes sparkled, but then another sound, a deep hum from far away. Not one hunter, not 3. Many dozens. Flying machines. Crawling drones, walking robots, all heading toward the East Peak. The final place, the last door. Jack stood up. Rifle in hand, they know where we're going. He looked down at Zero. "Then we get there first." The mountain stood tall like a sleeping giant, its peak hidden by clouds. Cold wind whispered through the air as Jack and Zero climbed the last snowy slope. Zero was weak. The cube's glow had faded. His steps were slow now. Jack carried him most of the way, arms shaking from the weight, not of the child, but of everything they had seen. And everything still coming. Behind them, the hunters filled the sky. Flying machines. Crawling machines. Cold, silent, watching. But they hadn't attacked yet. Not here. Not near the East Peak. As if they were afraid of it. The cube pulsed softly again in Zero's hands. The mountain wall in front of them shimmered, then opened. A hidden door. They stepped inside. The door closed behind them with a quiet hiss. Warmth touched their faces. Lights flickered on. They were in a long hallway, metal and glass, buried deep inside the mountain. Jack looked around. This isn't alien, he said. This is human. Zero nodded slowly. He already knew. They moved through the corridor. Old posters still hung on the walls. Project Unity, Peace Beyond Planets, Earth First, but not Earth Alone. Jack stopped at one door. It was half broken. A nameplate read, Dr. Elena Hart, lead geneticist. He pushed it open. Inside were dusty computers, old coffee cups, faded photos. One photo showed a human woman, Dr. Hart, standing next to an alien female. The same one Jack saw in the visions, Zero's mother, and between them, a small glass pod. Inside it, a baby. Zero. Jack whispered, "They made you here." Zero stared at the photo for a long time, then walked to the middle of the room. There, a memory core. He touched it. Suddenly, the screens came alive. A voice echoed through the room. Calm, tired, human. Log entry 43, Dr. Elena Hart. The Unity child has survived. Strong, curious, gentle. But not everyone sees him that way. The screen showed video files. Jack clicked one. Video log playback. A meeting room. Dr. Hart stands at a table, speaking. He's not a weapon, he's a symbol. A bridge between our species. A soldier across the table shouts, "He's dangerous. We don't fully understand what he can do. What if he turns on us?" Dr. Hart slams her hand on the table. Then, you teach him, protect him, raise him right. You want to raise an alien hybrid like a child? Because he is a child. The screen went dark. Then another log auto-played. Dr. Hart's voice, shakier now. "They're shutting us down. The military's taking over. Zero's mother tried to take him. They called her a threat. We helped her escape. She's going to hide the cube, the child, everything. I don't know where, but I hope one day someone good finds him. If you're hearing this, please protect him." Jack sat down slowly. Everything was clear now. Zero wasn't an accident. He was hope. And fear killed hope before it could grow. The walls shook. An alarm buzzed. A voice spoke from a broken speaker. "Warning! Unauthorized machines entering perimeter. Defense. Systems offline." Jack stood up. "They're here?" Zero looked at him, not with fear, but with something new. Strength. The cube glowed again, white, then blue, then bright gold. The floor lit up beneath them, a circle, a final gate. Zero stepped into it. Jack followed. The gate scanned them, and a new door opened behind the lab. Inside, a tall chamber filled with crystals, alien tech, and in the center, a giant machine like a signal tower, and next to it, a pod. Inside, floating in stasis, Zero's mother. Zero ran to her, hands on the glass. The cube floated from his hands and slid into the machine like a key. The whole room lit up. Lights, symbols, energy. The pod began to open. Jack stood back, breathing fast. "She's alive," he whispered. But before the pod fully opened, the mountain shook again. The hunters were breaking through. The final battle was coming. Jack loaded his rifle one last time. He looked at Zero, who was no longer just a scared child. He was something more. And his mother, once awake, would change everything. The mountain groaned. Dust fell from the ceiling. Red warning lights flashed across the lab. The hunters had found them, and they were breaking through. Jack stood near the door, rifle in hand. His back was straight. His face was calm, but inside, he was scared. Zero stood in front of the glass pod where his mother floated. His small hand touched the surface. The cube had already unlocked the chamber. The machine beside it glowed with golden energy. Jack spoke quickly. "How long until she wakes up?" Zero turned. He pointed to the signal tower, then the sky. Jack understood. The signal must be sent first. It would wake her. And maybe call her people. Maybe stop the war, but the machine had a problem. The lights dimmed. The screen blinked. "ERROR power low, signal incomplete. No. Jack muttered, pressing buttons. "We need more energy." Zero opened a side panel and revealed something strange. A glowing slot. It didn't need electricity. It needed life energy. Zero stepped forward. He was ready to give it. Jack shouted, "Wait!" That'll kill you, Zero paused, but nodded. He was willing. Jack knelt beside him. There has to be another way. You don't have to do this. The child looked into his eyes. There was no fear. Only peace. Suddenly the wall exploded behind them. Metal flew across the room. A red beam hit the ground, melting steel. The hunters were inside, flying, crawling, walking. Machines of all sizes filled the chamber. Their red eyes locked onto Zero. Jack fired his rifle. One shot, then another. One hunter went down, but the others kept coming. Run, Jack shouted. Get to the tower. Zero didn't run. He walked forward toward the center platform. His silver skin glowed. The cube floated beside him like a star. A drone jumped toward him. Jack tackled it, smashing it with the rifle butt. Zero climbed onto the platform and placed his hand on the machine. The cube responded. Golden light flowed from it into the signal. Tower. The chamber shook. A soft hum began to rise, louder, brighter. The glass pod began to open. Zero's mother was waking, but the machine's screen flashed again. Signal damaged. Final boost. Hfycodex. Jack ran to the console. He saw the problem. The main signal dish outside the mountain was broken. The final transmission wouldn't reach space without it. He looked at Zero and made a choice. Jack grabbed the cube. You stay here. I'll fix it. Zero tried to stop him. Jack smiled. It's okay. You found your mother. Now let me do something that matters. He ran outside the lab. The storm was wild. Snow hit like knives. The ground shook with every step. The old signal tower stood above the mountain, bent, broken. Jack climbed it, fighting the wind. He reached the top. He saw the dish, frozen and cracked. Wires snapped. He ripped off his gloves and touched the wires directly. Sparks flew. The tower lit up. Inside the lab, the signal began to rise again. Zero's mother opened her eyes. She gasped. Her first word was not alien. It was human. Jack! But outside, Jack screamed. The power was burning his skin. The cold was gone, replaced by pure pain. He closed his eyes and smiled. The signal fired into the sky, a beam of golden light, stretching into space. The machines below stopped moving, one by one. They powered down. Inside the lab, silence. Zero ran to his mother. She fell to her knees and wrapped her arms around him. Tears flowed down her silver cheeks. Zero was safe, but he looked around. Jack wasn't there. Far above, the signal tower was silent now. Snow began to fall again, and Jack was gone. The sky was quiet now. Golden light still hung in the air like the last breath of a dream. The hunters, all of them, had shut down. Cold metal bodies rested in the snow, lifeless. The war machines had no more orders, no more reason to fight. Inside the mountain, the signal tower no longer glowed. The cube, once bright and warm, was now still, silent. Zero stood in the chamber beside his mother. She was alive, strong, her arms wrapped around him like a shield. But Zero's eyes weren't full of joy. They were full of loss. He turned toward the exit of the lab, the place where Jack had run. Where he had climbed. Where he had disappeared. Outside, the mountain was soft with snow again. The wind had gone. No more screaming, no more fire. Just cold, white peace. Zero and his mother walked to the top. They stood at the base of the signal tower, half broken, still humming softly. There was no sign of Jack. No body, just his coat, frozen, covered in snow. Zero picked it up, held it tight. His mother placed her hand on the tower. The alien symbols lit up beneath her fingers. A new gate opened behind them. A ship, hidden inside the mountain, revealed itself. Zero didn't move. His mother touched his face gently. We must go, she said, in a voice like music. But he will be remembered. The ship rose slowly into the clouds. Zero sat beside his mother, holding the cube and Jack's coat. On a screen inside the ship, alien writing flowed. Then a new message appeared. In simple English. If he was human, then there is hope. Zero placed his hand on the cube. And for the first time, he spoke. Just one word, a word he had learned from Jack. Home. 2 weeks later, Earth outpost. 17. A transmission reached Earth from deep space. It carried images, clear, peaceful, strange. An alien ship had arrived. But not to invade. To return something. Inside a small craft was a child, half alien, half human, holding a coat, and behind him a message recorded in light and memory. Message begins, Ziru's voice, soft but clear. My name is Ziru. I come in peace. I carry the story of a man named Jack. He saved me. He gave everything, not because he had to, but because he chose to. He was not afraid of who I was. He believed in something bigger. He believed in peace. I want to learn your ways. I want to share ours, not as enemies, not as test subjects, but as friends. Message ends later. Earth Council BRIFING silence in the room. Then slow. Quiet claps. And for the first time in many years, the word hope appeared in a government file. Meanwhile, deep SPACE somewhere far beyond Earth and alien stars, a lone figure floated in a strange beam of light. Unconscious. Protected. Healing dies. Still closed, but alive. Jack. His hand twitched. The stars above him shimmered, almost as if they were waiting. Final narration. For closing lines of the episode, Jack was just a man, tired, lost, and broken. But when it mattered, he stood up, not for glory, not for reward, but for a child, and that choice changed two worlds forever.